Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. It's Ren here, and in this video I will briefly address, well, every time I say briefly and it ends up being way longer than briefly, but I'd like to talk about the question of the door slam for INFJs, because basically what prompted me also in part to make this video is that the door slam is not something that I managed to make sense of fully for a long time, and it's quite possible that I still haven't quite managed to make sense of it. The reason being that for a long time I failed to quite understand what was so specific about the INFJ kind of door slam, and why it was featured so often in descriptions of the INFJs, and why so many INFJs related to it. And I just want to share some thoughts with you here, and please feel free to enrich these thoughts. I'm sure they are very sketchy, patchy, and limited. Nevertheless, I think it might be worth sharing, so I'm going to do it here. So, on the face of it, and this was probably part of why I trouble quite, putting like the finger on what distinguished the INFJ door slam from other kinds of door slam, is precisely that, it is not by any means purely an INFJ thing, like door slamming people is something that everyone does, potentially. Not everyone, not saints maybe, but door slamming people is really not peculiar to any particular type. I'm sure that it is harder for certain types to do it, like say for an ISFJ, like the cliche would be ISFJ, they don't really door slam, but it's quite possible, for any kind of type. So my first step in getting to understand the door slam better was to understand that when we're talking about the door slam, we're not just talking about the door slam, we're talking about the INFJ door slam. So what is peculiar about the INFJ door slam is not that it is a door slam, but that it has a peculiar texture as a door slam. So that was my first step in the realization of why there was such a thing. Not that it is one kind of door slam, but that it is different than the other kinds, or at least that's its reputation. And for that, I have to say that from that moment, I started to relate to the topic. Until then, I had not really related, because I could think to myself, yeah, sure, I have door slammed people in my life before, but surely that's not unique to me, and I'm sure other people who are not INFJs have done it more than me. And there are clearly cases in which, like, I could have door slammed and I didn't, and there are cases when I door slammed after, like, I probably should have door slammed sooner and I didn't. And so I was kind of thinking, okay, so how, like, am I not an INFJ, or what's going on? But what I came to realize is that the INFJ door slam, sorry about that, is potentially brutal, because precisely it can be very unexpected. Nothing new, perhaps, in how you guys understand the concept, but it kind of, for some reason, it kind of aligned itself in front of my eyes suddenly. Is the brutality of the door slam is directly connected with the gentleness and the friendliness that we might have shown to the person even the day before, and that I can relate to. I can relate to that, because even though I have not door slammed a lot of people in my life, it is true that a lot of the time the way in which I have done it has been perceived by the other person as quite either confusing or perplexing, and I think potentially in some cases really upsetting, because it was so unexpected, to the point of almost making me, to them, come across like as if I were not like crazy, but emotionally unstable in some way, because so hard to read and so impossible to explain. Why is Ren suddenly acting like this towards me? Why does he just no longer want any kind of contact? He's not answering any message, and he appears to be cold. Like he's totally cool with the idea, like it's done. There's no discussion anymore. No discussion. No room for discussion. It's done. But why was he kind of friendly like last week? There were no real signs of it. So again, this could be obvious to you guys. It was not obvious to me, but now it is. And the best way that I can explain it with reference to the INFJ and the functions of the INFJ is that the INFJ, by virtue mostly of introverted intuition, is going to be extremely attentive to to an expression that I'm sure the certain thinkers in America would hate me to use, which is a very attentive to the microaggressions that other people commit towards us. So there are slights. We perceive the slights, and we are like super, super, super connected and attentive and perceptive when it comes to those slights. And when I say slights, I mean the perceived slights that are not real slights and that we eventually cast as just being figments of our imagination, or maybe projections of our insecurity at that particular moment. I mean, that definitely happens to me. But then also slides that are more than just that, like they are genuinely not cool things, and we notice that, and we don't forget. Like we may not be SI kind of people at all, but we do not forget when we have been slighted in a substantial sense. However, and this is an important point, we will, by virtue of extroverted feeling, we will always try to compromise, because to us, confronting a person, potentially a friend or a good acquaintance, confronting them about the legitimate hurt and slight that they inflicted can be stressful to us, because we are so conflict averse. We know that conflict makes us like stressed. So we might be able to stand a certain amount of conflict every month, let's say, but not more than just a certain amount. And past that, we're probably going to try to compromise. We're going to try to look at the positive side of things, and we're not going to mention anything to the person that caused the slight. Even though we felt it not only acutely, but we confirmed it as being a legitimate kind of sign of disrespect, or whatever we saw it as. But we're going to be drawn towards this, despite our better intentions almost, towards compromise, because we tend to be optimistic about people, but also because we would rather not go into conflict. Now, imagine that this is repeated several times. So we build a certain like tank of hurt or slights that a person inflicted on us, but we continue trying to accommodate the person. We try to communicate messages, subtle messages, to the person about the fact that they're slighting us. But because of extroverted feeling, we try to do it in a way that's relatively peaceable and not likely to create conflict. And this continues happening until we basically no longer can stand it. And the thing is, because we don't understand or relate to our feelings as well as INFPs, let's say, like it takes a bit longer for us to quite come to grips with what we're feeling. I think that it kind of all erupts all of a sudden, and we realize, okay, actually this person is toxic, and I have accumulated this number of, sort of memories of things they did to me that really I should not accept anymore. And when we reach that realization via NI, and probably TI as well, and maybe a little bit of a dose of FI, I'm not sure. I mean, often you hear that TI and FI are not compatible at all, but I don't know. But let's say that we reach this realization and then we make the move. And the thing is, when we make the move, it's kind of like we have an aha moment. I think there's a very clear connection between a Doorslam and an aha moment, because it's an aha moment about how we just need to get rid of that person, or we need to no longer engage with that person because it's not good for us. And the aha moment for the INFJ is so intimately part of who they are, they will trust the aha moment. It's very, very difficult for an INFJ to not have a very close and intimate trust of an aha moment, and they will just stick to it. And if the aha moment is about needing to just no longer engage with a person right now, they will do it. And the other person will have been used to all these little FE compromises throughout the whole history of the slice they inflicted, and sometimes they were not being told, because maybe it would have been healthier for the INFJ to express the upsetness earlier by not being too conflict averse. And perhaps, and that's the thing, perhaps the door slam could have been avoided by sort of allowing the frustration and the upsetness to be channeled, a little bit. But that doesn't happen. And so the person that had been inflicted the hurt several times over long periods with the FE compromises would have been used to the face of the INFJ, maybe sometimes expressing discontent, but in this extroverted feeling sense, so not really, maybe being perceived as not being worthy of taken too seriously by the other person. But then the day after, it's no longer the FE that's expressing itself. It's the NI that has brought about the aha moment about the need to door slam, and the TI that also rationalizes this. And then it happens. And then the other person is taken aback and perplexed. And that's how I understand the INFJ door slam. But and also why it is so, what's the word? I guess the word I want to use is, it is notorious. Notorious door slam. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that I understood it correctly? Do you relate to that yourself as an INFJ, or do you relate to it in different ways? See you soon. Have a nice day.